Today, we're going to dive into one of the most rare PS1 discs created, the Pepsi PS1 Sampler. This disc was created to be used in stores in association with a Pepsi promotion, targeting the PS1 and 3 select games: Final Fantasy VII, Jet Moto 2, and NCAA Gamebreaker 1998. Pepsi at the time was running with the marketing promotion called Generation Next, a pretty cool and maybe slightly edgy at the time promotion marketing to Gen X and some early millennials. The commercial we see accompanying the startup of the disc is fun and shows how Pepsi was targeting a younger audience at the time. Generation Next, however, was not going to be a long promotion. It ended shortly after the distribution of this disc and was replaced with the Joy of Cola campaign. After the Pepsi ad, we get one of the most unique FF7 ads, showcasing clips from the game and having the narrator call Cloud a soldier of fortune, and that if he fails, you can always hit the reset button. Honestly, a fun, little obscure ad for Final Fantasy VII.
If he fails, you can always hit the reset button. Final Fantasy VII.
PlayStation.
Now we get treated to a PS1 graphics mock-up of what the display should look like, alongside a sweepstakes informational, where buying marked packages of Pepsi got you a chance to win one of 2,000 PS1 consoles or 5,000 PS1 games. Honestly, it seems like a small giveaway if you ask me. However, each package also came with a $5 off coupon. And that worked on any of the 3 listed games here. And at the time, that would have paid for the Pepsi itself. So if you were going to buy one of those games, that coupon got you free Pepsi. That being said, I think one of the coolest things here is the actual packaging. Just seeing Cloud on his Hardy Daytona next to a giant can of Pepsi is not something I ever envisioned seeing. And it actually does exist. I found it online. It's simply amazing. Along with standees and a Pepsi Cups. It seems that Pepsi went full in on this Final Fantasy VII back at the time. And just seeing all this together is so weird to me. I never knew this existed until looking up information for this video.
Final Fantasy VII. Jet Moto 2.
The back of the Pepsi box highlights that it's a great holiday value, so we can surmise that the sweepstakes and the promotion event happened during the holiday season of 1997, and that's when these kiosks would have been on the floor. From some online forums and information I was able to find, it's currently believed that only 5 to 10 of these still exist today in 2024. How true that is, however, I can't say. It seems mostly just collectors going off information of how few there actually are ever put up for sale, or the few that they actually know are in someone's hands. Meaning that unless more are found or uncovered at some point, this is currently one of the most rare forms of PS1 media to exist currently. And that is reflected on the current sales price of the only one on eBay. The seller is currently asking just shy of $3,000 for this tiny sampler disc. I couldn't fathom paying that for what little content is actually on the disc, and unless you just had to have it to finish a collection, I would say to steer clear of paying for that. Thanks to GameRave.com, we can get some more information on the disc itself, where they remark that the disc is nothing to write home about, being just a playable Jet Moto 2 demo and 2 videos. Where they guess that it was made to be bite-sized for kids, that would inevitably be called away by their parents in the store, and I think that's a good theory. The sleeve for the sampler disc, though, strikes me as one of the most weird and awkward things, like straight out of a creepypasta or internet hoax theory. It's definitely out of place. The menu is simple, showing our 3 options with neon lights outlining Pepsi and PlayStation symbols. It's pretty neat and cool for being as simple as it is, and quite functional, and it has some decent menu music to go along with it. Starting out with NCAA Gamebreaker 98, I certainly don't mess these heavily pixelated, clunky football games of the time, but for the PS1, the stadiums do seem to be well made, and they look pretty passable. Next is the FF7 video, where it's showcasing cutscenes spliced together alongside reviews for the game. One of them saying, "The most amazing RPG we've ever seen" by Game Informer. "Might be the greatest game ever made" by Game Fan. And "New graphics and 3D appearance lift this into the stratosphere" by Ultra Game players. And that last comment can't be highlighted enough. The graphics of FF7 at the time were nothing short of amazing, especially compared to other JRPGs in 1997. FF7 was really a standout, and still is today. The game trailer ends with a Squaresoft masterpiece only on PlayStation, to drive home that yes, you do absolutely need to play this game, and yes, you can only do it on PS1. Overall, that trailer had to be the standout of the disc. Seeing that in the store would have hyped up anyone for that game, and it makes total sense that basically all of the marketing for this campaign was associated with Final Fantasy VII, and that was definitely the right move. Lastly, we have the only playable demo on this Kiosk disc, which is Jet Moto 2. Jet Moto is a fondly remembered racing title. I didn't have it as a kid, but I still absolutely remember the game. I have a few demo discs that had Jet Moto 1 and 2 on them, so even though I never owned the game itself, I do remember them and they stick with me. It's one of those games that I'm absolutely surprised Sony has never tried to revive. There was an attempt at a PS2 game that never came to light, but to leave this loved and highly remembered franchise in the past is pretty strange to me, and I would love to see Sony try to bring it back in the future. And that covers this strange and rare Pepsi sampler kiosk disc. Honestly, without booting this up and looking through it, I would have never known about the huge FF7 campaign that Pepsi did, or the standees and everything else, which is just a little crazy to me. I wish we would get more things like this today instead of just the old Call of Duty XP weekend codes that we get in Mountain Dew now. But yeah, thank you all for watching. If you liked this dive into gaming history, please give me a follow, and I appreciate it. Thanks.